explanation about this technical point that I announced a couple of days ago on Facebook and on Instagram on the what we call in vocal technique, and especially in Italian bel canto technique, covering or copertura. It is a fundamental concept, since it is just and only that kind of movement we have inside the throat at a certain height that will protect the vocal folds from the pressure. When I mean protect, this means that you can put the pressure and the vocal folds will be relaxed and not tensed. There are a lot of talking about, there is a lot also of misunderstanding about this concept. And it depends on how you do it and what you expect about this, and especially one fundamental thing. It is not, or it can be not just a one-step process. It can be a two-step process. You start from your sound, you cover your sound, so you'll have another kind of sound, and with the support working properly this time, because when you cover your sounds you can properly use your support and you can so develop it. And developing, you come back to the nice things of your sound that you liked it before, and probably that were the reason why you didn't want to cover, or the reason why you were effective, or you had such a little success. But coming back in here, it will not be with a straining of the vocal folds. So what is the question? I shared, and I will put at the end of the tutorial, I will put the link that I shared on Facebook on my page. That is a tutorial that is a page in which Seth Riggs and Luciano Pavarotti explain how to do covering. They do how they use it for their style, for what they preach, for the kind of voices they produce. But it is a process, and Seth Riggs knows that very well, that is useful for everybody. Everybody means you can't properly sing without copertura. You can't properly sing without covering the sounds. So why so many of you, and I find also in between my students, I have to take away the concern about the changing of the sound. Because it is true, when you have really bad support, or you didn't use the support, or you used to have a very open sound with no sustain effective, it is true that you cover and you change your sound. Totally true. I will never tell you that it isn't true, but it's not because of the covering. It is because your support couldn't work. So the first step is to put your larynx and your vocal folds in the possibility of having an effective pressure under them. And this is the covering. You cover, and then you feel what? You feel the sound that you have by not using the support previously. You will not feel the effect of covering. You will feel the effect of not having a proper support. Because the support working properly, it will cover the sound. That's why some natural voices, they don't need to do something. I have to move because I've got too much sun. That's good. So, you will not hear what the covering does. You will hear what your breathing does on your vocal folds, your proper breathing. The good news, as I said before at the starting, is that simply then you have to work on your support. And you will reach the sound you were trying to reach by the open sounds. That's the thing. I wanted to do this little explanation because I understand that it is not clearly said. It is not clearly stated that it is not the covering that will make lose the brilliance of your sound and the power and the strength and this contemporary characteristic, and also these how can I say, sometimes there is a brilliance pop that especially now is getting back, and I really love it. When you see Seth Riggs and Luciano Pavarotti, they were from some years ago. Some years ago they wanted a more, a darker sound, a sound more balanced with less powerful overtones and less clear overtones. Now we want back that, and sometimes we really want that. So we don't want to feel and to perceive that we are covering the sounds. The end of the sounds and the end of your color does not depend on the covering. The sound you will have in your voice at the end of your training or while you're training in your evolution, it is the result of how support and appoggio works and how with support and appoggio you place your larynx. So your larynx doesn't have to be all the time in the same position, doesn't have to be exactly natural as in Italian bel canto technique for classical purposes and for some kind of style it requires. Why? Natural position is the position in which you will have the maximum of your extension, the maximum of your flexibility, and it is absolutely required for certain kind of styles. Those kind of styles, they will ask you a very balanced voice. A very balanced voice means that you have to make really a compromise in between your color and the flexibility and the extension. So you will have freedom in deciding the overtones of your voice, in deciding the height of your larynx, but you will have less freedom than for a pop voice or a rock voice in which you don't need all the extension, you need shorter extension. Shorter extension means that you can work in putting a little less balanced larynx. I mean, this is the natural and this is the pop voice. You can sing properly with a little higher larynx and more sustain than the natural. And you will have a more clear sound, a more pushed sound, and with the sense of the open sounds that sometimes when you start or when you are not technique, you choose. But in here, you will have your covered sounds. Without the covered sound, you will just train your vocal folds. Without the covered sound, you will never be able to use the appropriate pressure under the vocal folds. And if you can't use this appropriate pressure, you will not be effective because you could use less pressure under the vocal folds because your vocal folds will start having a problem. So perhaps in the starting point you can scream. That's what we call screaming when you're open and you use an inappropriate pressure. But screaming will not make your career, will not get you having the sound you want. It will give you a part of this sound. So the first step is to cover the sounds. And then to find someone, if you can't find by yourself, or you will look for the other tutorials in which I will start explaining that, how to have back the overtones you wanted with a covered sound. And this is not that difficult. It's just 2 steps. So don't be frightened by the first. In the first, we will show you that you had a lack of support, not that your voice will remain in here. It will remain in here if you will not make the second step. But the second step is technical and possible. Have a very good day.